All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new on here, my name is Philip. This is Phil Reacts. Yes, today we are diving into full album reaction. That a lot of you have been asking for. We are checking out a new world record by Electric Light Orchestra. Yes. Now, if you know anything about ELO, they are one of those bands that really carved out their own lane in rock music, in my opinion. Led by Jeff Lynne. The whole idea behind the band was to blend rock music with classical orchestration. So you get electric guitars, you get drums, you get bass mixed with violins, you get cellos and those huge cinematic arrangements. And by the time this album came out, in 1976, checking out right here, ELO, they had already been experimenting with that sound, for, a few records, but a lot of people say that a new world record, is the album where everything really came together. Based on a few facts that I pulled up, this record, includes, some of their most famous songs like, Telephone Line, Livin Thing, Rockaria. Hopefully I'm getting that pronunciation right. And it's often considered the moment, when ELO, truly became a global powerhouse. What's interesting about this era too is that Jeff Lynne, was doing something that wasn't in the very common, in rock at the time. Creating these massive layered productions that almost feel like film soundtracks, but still keeping the songs really catchy and accessible. Yeah, so today we are going to listen to the album from start to finish. Break down the songwriting, the production, the orchestration, and see what makes this record so special nearly 50 years later. And of course, I'll be sharing my honest thoughts and my honest first impressions as we go. So before we jump in, let me know in the comments what's your favorite song of this album, and where does this album, a new world record, rank in ELO's catalog for you. Yes, so once again, I'm listening to this off of my Spotify. This album comes with 9 songs, spans a little over 36 minutes and 25 seconds. I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've heard any of the songs off the album, so it's going to be first time for me. So yeah, without wasting much time, without further ado, Electric Light Orchestra with the album A New World Record. First song titled Tightrope. Let's take a listen, guys. All right, this is going to be good. I can almost feel it. Whoa. Wow. Yeah. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. We are getting there. Yeah. Okay. What the? Wow.
They say some days you're gonna win. They say some days you're gonna lose. I tell you, I got news for you. time you never win. No, if you believe that's how it's gonna be, I better put you down.
Wow.
Get up your tightrope up there, come down on the ground. You gotta save me now. You better turn around. And I looked around. I was heading down. On somebody throw me down the line.
Oh my God.
This is some days you gotta give. This is some days you gotta take. If that's the way it's gotta be. Roll it over and you will see. The city streets are full of people going nowhere, making time. The change from night to day is really only out just along the line. Can't you see the sign? When I looked around, I was heading down. Oh, somebody throw me down the line.
Wow. It sounds like something I've heard before. I'm not sure where though.
I wanna look you straight in the eye. I wanna tell you how I really feel. Yeah, I can feel the wheels are turning around. Oh, somebody throw me down the line. The city streets are full of people going nowhere, making time.
Wow.
The change from night to day is really only out just along the line. Can't you see the sign? When I close my eyes, I was so surprised. Somebody had thrown me down the line.
Wow.
Stop me drowning. Somebody had thrown me down the line. Somebody.
All right, guys. Yeah, so that was the first song titled Tightrope. And I mean, listening to this song, by yours truly, Electric Light Orchestra, I mean, listening to the song for the first time, felt like, stepping into a musical scene, rather than just, hearing a song. I love the fact that it opens, the album, this album, in a way that, immediately grabs your attention. Right from the start, there is this dramatic and orchestral intro that, almost feels like the opening of a movie. Like I said, it sounded like something I've heard before. I wasn't too sure where. The choir-like vocals and the swirling strings, build tension slowly, and you can feel, something big, about to, happen. Then suddenly, the track shifts gears and drops, into that classic ELO groove. The transition is honestly, one of the coolest moments, in the song for me. I mean, the drums, they kick in, the rhythm gets moving, and the orchestral elements, blend with rock instrumentation in a way that feels both polished and energetic. That combination of rock band energy, and lush orchestration, to me, is something Jeff Lynne, I feel like, I mastered. And this song, is definitely, a great example of it. Vocally, Jeff Lynne delivered the song, with a, slightly urgent, emotional tone that I feel like fits, the theme urgently. The lyrics, use the idea of walking a tightrope, as a metaphor for feeling unstable or overwhelmed in life. There is a sense of vulnerability there, but it never feels overly heavy, because the music keeps things moving forward with an uplifting sort of momentum. One thing that really stood out to me in this track is the arrangement. I mean, the strings aren't just background decoration. They are woven directly into the groove of the song. They definitely add a drama, movement, and a kind of cinematic quality that makes the whole thing feel bigger than a typical rock track. At the same time, the guitars and the rhythm section keeps the song grounded, so it never drifts too far. It's a symphonic territory. Another highlight is how dynamic the song feels. It constantly shifts between softer moments and fuller, more powerful sections. That push-pull definitely keeps the listener engaged and makes the track feel like a journey rather than a straightforward rock track. So yeah, overall, Tightrope is definitely a fantastic album opener and a great showcase of what made Electric Light Orchestra unique during this era. I mean, love the fact that it blends orchestral ambition with catchy rock songwriting, and I mean, it sets the tone perfectly for the rest of the album. This album, a new red record. I mean, even decades later, the production still feels rich and layered, I have to say, and the song holds up really, really well. I mean, for me, it's one of those tracks that remind you as a listener why ELO stood out in the 70s. I mean, they weren't afraid to actually make rock music feel grand, to make it feel theatrical and emotionally expressive, all at the same time. I love the guys. Yeah, so let me know what you think about this one down in the comment section, guys. We are moving on to the second song, titled Telephone Line. Let's go. Okay. Whoa. Yeah.
Hello. How are you? Have you been alright?
Okay.
Through all those lonely, 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 lonely nights. That's what I'd say. I'd tell you everything if you'd pick up that telephone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, how you feeling?
Yeah.
Are you still the same? Don't you realize the things we did were all for real, not a dream?
Wow.
I just can't believe they've all faded out of view. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
The little things you find me coming true. Oh, oh, telephone line.
Wow, guys, I love
Give
this.
me some time. I'm living in twilight. Oh, oh, telephone line. Give me some time. I'm living in twilight.
Guys, this is solid. Wow.
Okay, so no one's answering. Can't you just let it ring a little longer, longer, longer? Oh, I'll just sit tight through shadows of the night.
Wow.
Let it ring forevermore. You need ain't gonna see it through. And I wonder why the little things you plan ain't coming true. Oh, telephone line, give me some time. I'm living in twilight. Oh, telephone line, give me some time.
I love this. Wow. Guys, so that was the second song, Telephone Line. And after listening to it, I loved it. I mean, this is one of those songs that really, really shows how good, ELO were, at blended emotion with really creative production. First off, I love the way this song sets the scene, right from the beginning. That little telephone sound effect, and dial tone immediately puts you as a listener inside. Inside of the whole story. It's such a simple idea, but it works perfectly because the whole song is about someone calling the person they love and hoping they will answer. It instantly creates this feeling of loneliness and anticipation. Musically, I feel like at this track it's just beautiful. The piano and those soft orchestral strings definitely give it that signature ELO sound. Very, very lush and very, very melodic and almost cinematic. Jeff Lynne had a real gift for writing melodies that I feel like are feel emotional without being overly dramatic. And this song is a perfect example of that. Speaking of the vocals, Jeff Lynne's vocal performance here on the song, is also really, really strong. I love the fact that he doesn't oversing it. Instead, he keeps it fairly restrained and sincere, which actually makes the emotions feel more real. You can hear that sense of vulnerability, in this, in his voice. Like, he is genuinely, hoping the person, on the other end, of the line, will actually pick up. And when the chorus comes in, the song really, really opens up, in my opinion. The layered harmonies, and the fuller, instrumentation, gives it this, big warm sound. It's still sad, but it also feels so comforting, all at the same time. I feel like that's something ELO, were incredibly, good at, making melancholy songs that are still really pleasant to listen to. Another thing I appreciate is the arrangement. This band, I feel like they were masters of combining rock instruments with orchestral elements. And on this song, it's done so smoothly. Nothing felt overcomplicated or forced. Every single instrument felt like it's there to actually serve the emotion of the song. Lyrically, is actually a very, very simple concept. Someone waiting and hoping for a phone call to be answered. But it's incredibly relatable, I have to say. Most people have experienced that feeling of waiting for someone who might not respond. And the song captures that emotional tension really, really well, I must say. So yeah, after listening to this song, I think this song is a fantastic example of I mean, this band's songwriting, and production style. I mean, it's melodic, it's emotional, and really, really well crafted. From start to finish. It's really the kind of song that doesn't need to be flashy. It just quietly, pulls you into the story. And I mean, lets the atmosphere, do the heavy lifting or do the work. And honestly, I mean, it's easy to see why this song became one of this band's most loved songs. I mean, it's timeless, it's heartfelt, and it still connects emotionally even decades later. I love the guys. I really, really did love listening to this song. Let's move on to the third song, titled Rockaria. Hopefully I'm getting that pronunciation right. Let's go.
I think she died for Beethoven. She loves the way Puccini lays down a tune. A bird is always creeping from her room.
Wow.
I think she died for Beethoven. She loves the way Puccini lays down a tune. And bird is always creeping from her room.
Guys, the third song, Rockaria, and wow. wow. Guys, after listening to this song, one thing, becomes, clear almost immediately. This band, they were never, afraid to experiment. The track, based on a few facts that I pulled up, was written and produced by Jeff Lynne, as usual. And I feel like it's a perfect snapshot of what made this band so unique in the 70s. I mean, blending rock and roll energy with a bit of classical orchestra, in a way that feels ambitious but still fun. I mean, right from the opening seconds, the song grabs your attention, with an operatic sort of introduction. That operatic voice, from soprano Mary Thomas, based on a few facts that I pulled up. definitely sets the stage for what's to come. The cool part is how quickly the track pivots from that classical style into you know a lively upbeat rock groove. It's almost like the song is telling a story through its sound. I mean, classical music meeting rock and roll head on. Musically, the arrangement definitely classic ELO. I mean, the rhythm section has that driving almost retro rock and roll type of feel, whilst the strings and the orchestral elements float above it, adding color and texture. Jeff Lynne's vocals came in with a bit of laid back sort of confidence, and he sells the playful concept of the song really really well, I must say. There is also a lighthearted tone throughout, especially in the lyrics, which definitely tells I mean, the story of a girl who loves opera but wants to dive into the world of rock music. I have to say, what really really stood out in the performance is how well all the different elements fit together. On paper, mixing opera with rock could easily feel gimmicky, in my opinion, but here it works because I mean it's done with such musical care. The transitions feel natural, and the orchestrations never overwhelms the rock foundation. It definitely enhances it. Another thing I appreciate about this track is its a personality. I mean, there is a sense that the band is having fun with the concept, and that energy comes through in the performance. It's definitely catchy, it's definitely creative, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, which I loved. Overall, Rockaria, this song is a great example of why Electric Light Orchestra stood out during their era. It definitely captures their willingness to push boundaries while still delivering something accessible and entertaining. It's quirky in the best way, musically rich and undeniably memorable. One of those songs that actually reminds you how imaginative rock music could be in the 1970s. I love that, guys. I mean, if you're listening to this for the first time, such as myself, it's definitely one of those tracks where you can appreciate both the creativity and the craftsmanship behind it. And honestly, that blend of opera and rock still feels pretty fresh even today, I have to say. Let me know what you think about this one down in the comment section. I really really had a blast listening to it. We are moving on to the fourth song, titled Mission, a world record. Let's take a listen, guys.
For many days we traveled from a distant place and time to reach a place they call the planet Earth. There was to be a celebration on the mission of the sacred heart.
Guys, I like this.
The planet Earth from way up there is beautiful and blue and floating softly through a rainbow. But when you touch down, things look different here at the mission of the sacred heart. Watching all the days roll by. Who are you and who am I? Life on earth. It's a mother with a baby, in a vein of tears she sees no rainbow.
Wow.
And someone singing from a window in the mission of the sacred heart.
I like this.
Watching all the days roll by. Who are you and who am I? How's life for when the stars above lay icy fingers down on me. There's a building on a corner and a city in a land, a place they call the planet Earth. My orders are to sit here and watch the world go by. Of the sacred heart, watching all the days roll by. Who are you and who am I? Watching all the days roll by. Who are you and who am
Right. Okay, guys, so that was the first song, Mission, World Record. And after listening to this song, I feel like this song, immediately, felt like one of the more, atmospheric and experimental, moments, on this particular album. This is, one of those songs where you can really hear Jeff Lynne leaning into, ELO's orchestral and, progressive side. I mean, creating something that, to me, feels cinematic, rather than just a straightforward rock track. I love how the song opens with this, really, really intriguing groove that almost, has a, a laid back, slightly jazzy sort of rhythm, and and I feel like it immediately, pulls you into, its world. I mean, it's not explosive or, overly dramatic, and at first, I mean, it's more subtle and mysterious. To listen to the song as the track develops, you start to notice, how carefully everything is layered. The strings, the keyboards, the rhythm section, they all work together to to create a soundscape that feels spacey and reflective, which to me fits the whole mission concept perfectly. One thing I also really appreciate here, is Jeff Lynne's vocal delivery. It's not overly showy, but it's very, very expressive, in my opinion. I mean, his voice sits comfortably in the mix and almost feels like the narrator, of a story, guiding you through the song rather than, trying to dominate it. That storytelling, I mean, that storytelling quality really, really helps, brings the lyrics, to life. Musically, this track is also interesting because it doesn't allow a completely predictable, structure. ELO, I love how they play around with different textures and transitions, and you can hear, little instrumental details, popping up, throughout the song. The orchestral touches, especially, give it that signature ELO identity. This blend of rock band energy with classical influences, that they were so good at, in my opinion. Another thing that stood out to me listening to this song is the overall mood, of the track. It feels thoughtful and slightly melancholic, almost like you are observing the world, from a distance. I mean, that reflective tone, gives the song, a deeper emotional layer. Even though it's wrapped inside this imaginative, almost science fiction sort of concept. Even though this song isn't one of the big radio hits from this album, based on a few facts that I pulled up. I mean, it really really showcases the creative ambition of this band. It's a kind of track that adds depth to the album and reminds you that ALO wasn't just about catchy singles. They were also about building rich immersive musical worlds. So yeah, overall I'd say this is a very very cool and underrated track. It may not be the most immediately catchy song on this particular album, but it's definitely one of the more interesting ones musically. Definitely highlights Jeff Lynne's creativity and the band's ability to to blend orchestral arrangements with rock in a way that still feels fresh and imaginative. Yeah, let me know what you guys also think about this one down in the comment section, guys. We're moving on to the fifth song, titled So Fine. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Like this.
Two drifters on the morning sky, two drifters sailing wide and high, when summer breezes blow across your mind. With
Wow.
you, I will walk the line.
Okay.
I want it so fine. I want it so fine. I want it so fine. People walking hand in hand, everybody singing to the band. I wanna be where the stars shine bright.
Yeah.
And hear sweet music on a summer night. I want it so fine. I want it so fine. I want it so fine.
Okay. What the? Ooh. Yeah.
Sundown as we go on and on, we find the land of the midnight sun. And when you look, you see for miles around.
Okay.
You see the world is in your hand. I want it so fine.
Okay, yes. So that was the fifth song titled "So Fine," and I have to say, listening to this song, felt like one of those moments, on an album where the band, just lets loose and has fun. I mean, coming from this album once again, this track, really, really captures that. As always, classic ELO ability to actually, blend rock energy with pop charm and orchestral flavor. To me, it may not be the most famous song on the album, but I mean, it absolutely has its own personality. The first thing that stood out, is the groove. There's no denying that. The rhythm, has this bouncy, almost funky feel, to it. And I feel like that makes a song, instantly upbeat. Jeff Lynne's production style, is really clear. Everything felt tight and polished, but still playful. The guitar, the bass, and the drums, all locking together, in a way that gives the track, a really, really strong momentum. Vocally, I have to say, Jeff Lynne, kept things, tight and melodic. The layered harmonies, are a big highlight because I mean they definitely give the song that rich, ELO, sound that we the fans know and love. I mean, it almost feels like the band is leaning into a 1970s pop rock the sort of vibe, which I mean with hints of funk and even a little bit of early disco energy in the rhythm. I mean, I love the fact that it's catchy without trying too hard. Another thing I really, really enjoyed listening to the song, obviously the arrangement. I mean, the song has this fun breakdown section where the instruments drop out and gradually come back in. I mean, moments like that show Jeff Lynne's creativity as a producer. I mean, this man is not just writing a catchy tune, he's building a little musical journey aside I mean a 4-minute track. What makes So Fine interesting in the context of this album is that I mean it works almost like a breather between the bigger, more dramatic songs. I mean, some ELO tracks they go very, very grand, with strings and huge emotional moments. But this one, is more relaxed and groove driven, in my opinion. I mean, it's definitely a reminder that the band, could also make something simple and fun, while still sounding uniquely like ELO. So yeah, overall, I have to say, So Fine, might not be the headline track off of this album, but it's definitely one of those songs that grows on you. The more you sit with it, the more you actually listen to it. I mean, love the fact that it's upbeat, it's well produced, and full of the kind of musical creativity that made this band such a standout in the 70s. So yeah, for me as a first listener, I mean, it's just a really, really enjoyable track that shows the lighter, more playful side of this band. And I mean, sometimes that's exactly what an album needs. I loved it, guys. I really, really did love listening to this one. Let's move on to the said song titled "Livin Thing." Let's go. Whoa. Wow.
Sailing away on the crest of a wave, it's like magic. Oh, rolling and riding and slipping and sliding, it's magic. And you and your sweet desire, you took me. Oh, higher and higher, baby.
Wow.
It's a living thing.
Let's go.
It's a terrible thing to lose. It's a given thing.
Wow.
What a terrible thing to lose. I'm taking a Making believe this is what 'cause you can't help the slide floating downstream. I'm taking my time. Oh, so let her go. Don't start spoiling the show. It's a bad dream. I'm taking. And you, and your sweet desire. Don't you do it, don't you do it.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to lose. It's a given thing. What a terrible thing to lose. It's a living thing. It's a terrible thing to lose. It's a given thing.
All right, guys. So that was Livin Thing, and I mean, based on a few facts that I pulled up, I mean, this track, from what I read, is one of the this band's most recognizable tracks, and I mean, it's so clear why. I mean, this song, has remained such. I mean, as always, this song was written and produced by Jeff Lynne, and I mean, the song perfectly captures what, as always, made this band, such a unique force, in rock music, during the 70s. I mean, from a listener's perspective, I mean, the first thing that grabs your attention, is the dramatic and orchestral intro. As always, I mean, this, the strings, come in, almost like, I mean, the opening, of a film score, creating, a sense of anticipation before the group really settles in. I mean, it's definitely a great example, of ELO's, signature style. I mean, blending classical elements, with rock and pop in a way that feels, big, polished, and cinematic. I mean, once the rhythm kicks in, the song shifts into this bright, infectious pop rock sort of groove. Jeff Lynne's vocal delivery, as always, is smooth and melodic, but there is also a slightly reflective tone in his voice that, to me, fits the lyrics really well. I love the fact that he doesn't oversing the track. Instead he lets the melody, and the arrangements, do a lot of the emotional work, which actually makes the performance, feel more natural and sincere. Musically, there is a lot, happening, in the background that, to me, makes the song interesting on repeated listens, in my opinion. The string arrangements, weave in and out, and the rhythm section almost, acting like another, lead instrument. The backing vocals, are, as always, layered, nicely, giving the chorus a fuller sound without overpowering the main melody. I mean, it's clear a lot of attention went into the production, and I feel like that polished sound, became, one of this band's trademarks, during this era. Lyrically, Livin Thing, feels reflective and a little philosophical. I love the fact that the song touches on themes of love, uncertainty, and emotional vulnerability. And Jeff Lynne uses, imagery, about waves and movement to actually capture the ups and downs, of relationships. Now, it's not overly complicated writing, but it's effective, and relatable. As a performance, the song really shines because of its balance. It's orchestral but still catchy, but I mean still radio friendly. I feel like that combination is part of why it worked so well, both commercially and artistically. The track manages to actually feel grand and ambitious, without losing the simple hook that keeps it memorable. Looking back today, I have to say that this track stands at a great snapshot of what as always made this band special. It definitely shows how Jeff Lynne and the band were able to actually push boundaries of rock music and introducing orchestral textures, while still creating songs that were accessible and enjoyable for a wide audience. Yeah, so overall it's a beautifully arranged well crafted track that highlights the creativity and musical vision that helped I feel like helped define ELO's sound in the late 70s. Yeah. um, I have to say, I mean, even decades later, that song, still feels fresh and I mean, enjoyable. I loved it. I really, really did enjoy listening to the song. So let me know your thoughts, let me know your perspective about this song. We're moving on to the seventh song titled "Above the Cloud." Let's go.
In the heat of the night, when things ain't going right. No, 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 you will remember me. I came along to see your face, but the only thing I got from you.
Okay. Wow. Okay, guys, the seventh song, "Above the Clouds." I mean, right away, the atmosphere of the song to me, feels light and almost dreamy. I mean, the arrangement, it's a bit simple compared, to some of their bigger productions, but I mean, it still carries that signature blend. The band, they were known for, rock instrumentation wrapped in lush orchestral textures. The strings and harmonies, also come in. They create this floating sensation that really, really matches the title of the song. I mean, it's genuinely feels like the music is drifting along. Almost like you are suspended in the air. For a couple of minutes. Vocally, Jeff Lynne definitely kept things very, very relaxed and melodic. There is nothing overly dramatic in the performance, and that's actually part of the charm, if you ask me. The vocals sets comfortably in the mix. I mean, surrounded by warm harmonies that give the track a soft almost comforting tone. To me, it's the kind of vocal delivery that feels effortless, but still very, very intentional. Yeah, after listening to this song, what's interesting about it, this particular song, "Above the Cloud," is its length. It's barely over 2 minutes. In another band's hands, that might feel incomplete, but here, it works more like a musical transition. To me, it gives the album, a moment, to breathe before jumping back into, more energetic, territory. That kind of pacing, to me, is something, Jeff Lynne, was really, really, I mean, good at, when, structuring an album, in my opinion. Yeah. From a reaction, and from a music, enthusiast, standpoint, this isn't the track that's going to, actually blow your mind with, huge guitar solos or massive hooks. Instead, it's one of those songs that, quietly reinforces what makes, this band ELO, special. The ability to actually combine orchestral, beauty with, pop songwriting, in a way that feels smooth and natural. I loved it. So yeah, overall, this song, might not be one of the most talked about songs, on this album, in my opinion, but it absolutely plays an important role, in the listening experience, of this album. It's calm, it's melodic and atmospheric, almost like a little musical pause, that lets the listener, float, for a moment, before the album, takes off again. And honestly, sometimes those small moments are what makes a great album feel complete. Yeah, let me know what you think about this one in the comment section, guys. We are almost done with the album. We're moving on to the 8th song, titled "Do Ya." Let's go. Okay. Yeah. Whoa.
In this life, I've seen everything I can see, woman. I've seen lovers flying through the air, and I've seen
Okay.
babies dancing in the midnight sun. I've seen dreams that came from the heavenly skies above. I've seen women crying at their own gravesides, and I've seen things I've seen watching pictures lights. But I've never seen nothing like you.
Yeah.
Do you want my love? Woman, do you want my face? I need it. Do you want my mind? I'm saying, do you want my love? Well, I heard the crowd singing out of tune as they sat and sang, always sang by the light of the moon. I heard the preachers banging on the drums, and I heard the police playing with their guns. But I've never heard nothing like you. In the country where the sky touches down on the field, she lay her down to rest in the morning sun. They come running just to get a little kiss, to feel, to touch her long black hair. They don't give a damn.
Whoa. Okay.
But I've never seen nothing like you. Do you want my love? Woman, do you want my face? I need it. Do you want my mind? I'm saying, do you want my love?
Wow.
Well, I think you know what I'm trying to say, woman. That is, I'd like to see you for a rainy day. I've seen enough of the world to know that I gotta get it all to get it all to grow. Do you want my love? Come on now. Do you want my face? I need
I like
it.
it.
Do you want my mind? Oh man, yeah. Do you want my love? Oh, look out! Do you want my love? Do you want my
Guys, so that was the 8th song titled "Do Ya." And I mean, for a first listen, what really hit you, as a listener, is the driving guitar riff. I mean, I love the fact that it's gritty, it's catchy, and immediately sets the tone for the entire track. As a reactor, as a music enthusiast, that's usually the moment where the song means business. The groove kicks in quickly, and the band locks into this tight and energetic rhythm in that I feel like I feels almost impossible not to nod your head along to. Jeff Lynne's vocal performance here is also worth highlighting. I have to say, I mean, he delivers the verses with a kind of playful attitude, almost like he is telling a story, and then the chorus explodes with that unforgettable hook. Do you want more? I mean, it's simple but incredibly effective, I have to say. I mean, the repetition and melody makes it one of those choruses that sticks with you long after the song ends. Musically, what's interesting about this song is how it blends classic rock power with this band's signature touches. I mean, you still hear hints of the band's orchestral style in the arrangement, but the focus here is really on the guitars. I mean, it's really on the rhythm section and the raw energy. It almost feels like ELO stepping briefly into the world of straight rock whilst still keeping the identity intact. Another thing that stands out in the performance is the tightness of the band. The rhythm section keeps everything moving forward with a steady pulse, whilst the guitars and backing vocals also add layers that make the song feel bigger and fuller. I mean, it's definitely a great example of how ELO could balance catchy songwriting with strong musicianship. So yeah, to me overall, this song is just a fun high energy rock song that showcases a different side of Electric Light Orchestra, this band. I mean, it may not be as orchestral or cinematic as some of their other hits, but that's exactly what to me makes it refreshing. It's direct, it's punchy, and incredibly catchy. Yes, from a reaction standpoint, it's the kind of track that's easy to enjoy right away. I mean, the hook is strong, the groove is infectious, and Jeff Lynne's songwriting really shines all the way through. It's one of those songs that reminds you how versatile ELO could be, able to deliver the sweeping symphonic pieces one moment and a straight up wrong anthem the next. Let me know, guys, what you think about this one down in the comment section. We are moving on to the final song off of this album, titled Shangri-La. Hopefully I'm getting that pronunciation right. Let's take a listen. Wow, nice, I like this.
Someone calling at my door. Too bad.
Is that Freddie?
I'm getting out of love.
Sounds like Freddie. Okay. Wow.
What's the use of changing things? Wonder what tomorrow brings. Who knows? I'm getting out of love. My Shangri-La has gone away, fading like the Beatles on a June.
Wow.
She seemed to drift out on the rain that came in somewhere softly from the blue.
Nice, sounds good. Wow. Sounds so good, guys. Don't you agree?
Clouds roll by and hide the sun. Raindrops falling on Jude. She seemed to drift out on the rain that came in somewhere softly from the blue. My Shangri-La has gone away, faded like the Beatles of the Jude. She seemed to drift out on the rain that came in somewhere softly from the blue.
Wow, guys.
I'm getting out of love. Where is my Shangri-La? Where is my Shangri-La?
Wow. Okay, guys, we are still not done. Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. Yeah, so that was the final song of this album, Shangri-La. Hopefully, I'm getting the pronunciation right. I love how this song started off in a very, very gentle, almost dreamy way. The instrumentation definitely soft, and patient, letting the atmosphere settle in, before anything big happens. Jeff Lynne definitely delivered the vocals, with a restrained, emotional tone that to me feels very, very personal. There is a sense of loss, in the lyrics, like someone looking back, on a perfect moment, or a relationship, that's gone now. That idea, on Shangri-La, a perfect in the paradise that can't quite reach anymore, becomes a powerful metaphor, throughout the song. This is based on a few facts that I pulled up. To me, one of the things that stood out immediately is the way this band, blended, rock, with, orchestral elements, on this particular song. The strings, slowly begin, to layer in, and the arrangement, starts expanding, little by little. It's not, a sudden explosion of sound, in my opinion. It's more like, the music, gradually, opens up around, the listener. That slow build, is part of what, to me, makes the song, so effective emotionally. As you listen to the song, as the track progresses, you can hear how carefully the dynamics, are crafted. The orchestral swells, the backing vocals, grow stronger, and the entire, arrangement, becomes more dramatic. It's to me, it's almost cinematic. By the time the song reaches its climax, everything feels bigger and more powerful, but it never loses the emotional core. And emotional core that was established at the beginning. What I really appreciated, about this particular song, Shangri-La, is how, it balanced, sadness, with a bit of beauty. The song, is clearly about, heartbreak and the loss, of something ideal, but the music itself, feels uplifting, in a very, very strange type of way. I mean, that contrast, gives the track the depth and, keeps it, from becoming overly heavy. From a a performance standpoint, this is classic ELO. I mean, the orchestration is rich, the production is layered, but still clean, and the vocal delivery, from Jeff Lynne, carried the emotion, without being overly dramatic. It feels sincere, which is what ultimately makes the song connect, in my opinion. So yeah, overall, listening to this song, I feel like this song works perfectly, as a a closing track. Definitely leaves you with a a reflective mood, and definitely showcases exactly what made this band so special. I mean, their ability to combine pop melodies, rock energy, and symphonic arrangements into something that feels both grand and deeply human. To me, it's not the flashiest song on the album, but I mean, it might be one of the most emotionally resonant, and I really, really enjoyed listening to it. Let me know what you think about this song down in the comment section, guys. Finally, guys, we are done with Electric Light Orchestra's album, A New World Record. And guys, I have to say that after sitting and listening to this album from start to finish, it becomes pretty clear why this record is often considered one of the most important albums in the ELO catalog. I mean, led by songwriter and producer once again Jeff Lynne. This record feels like the moment where the band's vision blending rock with classical orchestration fully comes into a polished confident way. What stood out immediately personally to me is the balance between accessibility and ambition. Many bands that experiment with orchestral arrangements can sometimes lose their simplicity of a great pop song, but here Jeff Lynne manages to keep the melodies incredibly catchy, whilst I mean, still surrounding them with rich instrumentation and layered production. Talk about the sound, the production. I feel like it's one of the biggest strengths of the album. I mean, definitely the production style. Jeff Lynne, I love how he builds these songs with layers of guitars, keyboards, strings, and vocal harmonies. But nothing ever felt overcrowded, in my opinion. Instead, every instrument felt like it had a purpose. The orchestral elements, I mean, the violins, the cellos, the sweeping arrangements, don't just decorate the songs. They drive the emotional tone of the music. This gives the album a cinematic quality that was fairly unique in mainstream rock during the mid 70s. There is also a noticeable shift here towards more polished pop songwriting compared to their earlier records. The structures are tighter, the hooks are stronger, and I mean, nearly every track felt designed to actually stay in your head longer after it ends. Yes, I definitely have to talk about Jeff Lynne's songwriting. I mean, his songwriting is the real centerpiece of the album, and that is a fact. He has a knack for writing melodies that feel instantly familiar but still emotionally powerful. I mean, his vocal style also plays a big role in the album's identity, I have to say. I love the fact that he doesn't rely on big vocal theatrics. Instead, his voice has a warm, slightly melodic tone that I feel like makes the song feel sincere and personal. Lyrically, I love how the album explores themes of love and longing, emotional uncertainty, nostalgia, romantic idealism. These themes I feel like I show up most clearly in songs like Telephone Line, which captures the feeling of loneliness and distance in a surprisingly simple but effective way. Personally, several songs on the album really defined this band's sound. Take a song like Telephone Line. It's one of the emotional highlights of the album. The production is incredibly, atmospheric, and the way the melody builds, definitely gives the song a deeply, a nostalgic quality. Another song, Livin Thing. That song is another major standout. The combination of, energetic, strings and a driving rhythm definitely creates one of the most recognizable, ELO, tracks ever recorded, in my opinion. It's perfectly represents, the band's ability to merge, orchestral music, with, rock and pop. There is this. Then there's the Rockaria, yes, which might be the most experimental, moment on the album. Blending rock with, operatic vocals. It is definitely a bold choice, but it works because the song never loses its playful spirit. And finally, Shangri-La, my favorite, guys. That song closes the album on an emotional high note. It definitely builds slowly, layering strings and harmonies until the final section feels almost symphonic. Giving the album a powerful sense of closure. One thing that becomes clear when listening to the album straight through is how the songs flow together. The pacing is carefully balanced between energetic tracks and more reflective moments. The album opens dramatically with Tightrope, gradually moves through upbeat and emotional songs, and then it closes with a sweeping finale of Shangri-La. I feel like that sense of progression makes the record feel like a complete musical journey rather than just a collection of songs. It's also a relatively concise album by 70s standards, which helps the listening experience focused and engaging. Yeah, I loved it. So one may ask, why does this album still work today? To me, even decades later after its release, a new world record, to me, feels fresh because of how timeless the songwriting is. Whilst the production clearly reflects the era it came from, the melodies, the arrangements, and emotional storytelling still resonates today. It still sounds fresh. The album also sets the stage for ELO's even bigger commercial success that would follow with Out of the Blue, which expanded on many of the ideas first perfected here. Yeah, that's just based on a few facts that I pulled up. So overall, this record feels like a turning point for ELO. Definitely captures the band at a moment where creativity, songwriting, and production all align perfectly. I love how the album manages to be ambitious but accessible, orchestral yet still rock driven, polished but emotionally sincere. That combination is definitely what makes it such a beloved record in this band's in the catalog. It's definitely that kind of album where you can hear the care and the craftsmanship behind every single song, and it's easy to actually understand why so many fans consider it the defining release of 1970s pop rock. Yes, so if I'm to rate this album, I'll definitely give this a hard 9 out of 10. A beautifully produced album that perfectly blends orchestral ambition with classic pop songwriting. Guys, that's just me, but I really love to hear what you guys also have to say about this album. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your perspective, let me know which ELO album you would like for me to listen to and react to next. I'll be so glad to do just that, guys. Yes, if you tune in, if you stuck with me to the end of the video, you're loved, you're very much appreciated on here. My name is Philip. On to the next video. Take care, stay safe, and then peace out.